Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Incredible Hulk podcast, and we are talking about the season 5 story, Two Godmothers. Oh yes, and joining me on this ride is none other than Sue and Alex. How are you both?
Good, really good. Thanks.
Great. This was directed by Michael Vijar and was written by Ruben Leder, I believe, Leder. It could be Leader or Leder, I don't know. This time, David is working as a linen delivery driver. Yeah, and he happens to be dropping off some linen or picking up some linen from a women's penitentiary or correction facility in the States somewhere. And so, meanwhile, 3 women in the prison, as it were, are hatching a dastardly escape plan. Get out of there. And they reckon that they've got some kind of set of wheels waiting for them somewhere down the line, a couple of hours away, to pick them up and get them out there. And one of the girls is actually expecting a child. So, that could be tricky. So they hatched this plan, and they managed to grab one of the guards out of there and get the set of keys off her to get out. But they bump into what turns out to be one of the girls whose name is Barbara, her nemesis, who's like the head of the prison or something. They don't get on at all. So they end up, locking them in a cupboard and getting out of there.
Well, I liked the fact that they were in prison and they were all bound and determined to get out. I think a couple of the ladies were almost ready to be released, and so, but they didn't want to wait. They had plans, so they left, and they dragged poor David into the whole situation because he was driving, and so they took the linen cart and they just ran out and escaped, basically.
Yes, yeah, they did. They stuck a little knife in his back and said, "I think you get going, mate. We're getting out of here." So, he unwillingly, as you say, takes them out of the prison before all the alarms get raised and everything.
Yep.
The woman, the warden, is getting frantic. He said, they're not going to get far. We'll get them back. Don't worry about that. I'll be glad to see her back in here and see, more or less gloat when I see her, that kind of thing. But as they go along, they get further out. I think maybe an hour into the journey, and or actually less than that, I think, really. When David, is slowing down speed in the vehicle because he's concerned about the child, the girl carrying the child. But Barbara is adamant that they speed up. So he has no choice but to do that, regardless.
I wasn't necessarily big on the opening, especially when they break out and they push the 2 or 3 women sheriffs or correction officers into the room. But again, they're trying to move the story along. But like I said, it's the 70s. It's a very good show. So even though I didn't like this part, I knew it was going to get more interesting.
And the lady, one of the warden's names was Hackett, and yeah. I guess we were talking about this before. That it's like Nurse Ratched, that whole thing. That whole institutional, super strong woman in charge of everything kind of thing, and how heartless she was,
Yeah, and that Barbara and her really don't hit it off at all, do they? You know, she's definitely rebellious against her. She's quite funny in places. But anyway, she's determined to get her back, and she's eager to get out there and do the hunts and everything for them, to find them. And is, as we find out, very trigger happy as well. You know, it turns out that the vehicle goes over a bump, which breaks like a tire rod, I think, or something. And David has to get out and check it. It looks like they're not going anywhere. You know, they're stuck in this like a dip in the ground, and. But luckily, because they've got the linen in there and blankets and things like that, they can, because they know that the night is going to, the weather's going to drop at night down there, and they're going to be, they're going to have to travel for quite a while. So they take some linen with them, a few supplies to keep warm. When they end up building a fire, because they know they're going to be in for a bit of a long night, But they didn't really want to stop because, obviously they think, these guys are going to be on their tail soon.
And because that friend of hers or that sister or cousin or whatever waiting in that other city, like they were trying to go to like Silver Springs or something like that. I can't remember the name of the city, but they're on their way across the over the hill to that other city, and they were only a little ways away.
Yeah, not too far, no.
Yeah. Maybe
an hour or something. Yeah, very close. Because they said, a couple of hours from there, that's our rendezvous. You can go after that, David. We won't need you anymore. We've got this car waiting for us.
Right.
Yeah. They stop for the night. They've got a little fire going, and David gets talking to the girls. The pregnant girl, his name's Lanny. And the other girl in there, the middle woman, is Sandra. And Lanny sort of explained a little about why she's been put in, in jail for being like a driver for like a getaway driver for a robbery, a liquor store robbery, I believe, that her boyfriend coerced her into doing. And so she unwittingly went along with it, trying in many ways to get, money for a baby, really, because they didn't have a lot of money, I guess. So they resorted to desperate measures, which landed her about 16 months in jail for it, So there's you get some backstory there about that. But anyway, the day comes. They realise that they've come to this what seems to be a military blasting area, like a bomb blasting area or something, testing.
I think it was mining, but I may just be like, thinking about what I used to do. But I think, did it say military testing site?
Yeah, it's a military. It was a big sign up as they walked by, and that's why David was like reticent about going in there. He said, "Can't you see the sign?"
All right.
Military testing or something, or bomb test. I can't remember exactly, something like that. But of course, what they were detonating was dynamite, and sticks of dynamite strategically put in the rocks, and so David does not want to go in there. He said, "Come on, man, we've got a woman who's pregnant here. We can't go through that."
Where there's testing, there's going to be testers and stuff. So he didn't want to be discovered, and he didn't want any of this stuff to go down.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, David is a brilliant scientist. He's not just, a bumpkin. He's actually like, he was really being considerate when he thought of that. And I mean, I know that that he would have recognized maybe the trouble that all that was in.
But unfortunately, he recognizes it. But unfortunately, Barbara's not having any of it. So she basically says, "Look, we're going through here. That's it." She's stubborn as hell. So he didn't win that one. So they end up having to go through there. and then of course the detonations start, and all these rocks. The rocks are teeming down from the top, down, on the ground, and they're ducking for cover, and the point where they get split up, kind of thing, because Barbara goes running down one side, and Lanny and David and Sandra at the other end. So David has to, think about Barbara, and goes running to help her, and
so
kind of reach for me, kind of thing, and just as that's happening,
so the dynamite goes right.
Yeah, and then of course more rocks come down, and one huge one hits him on the hand, and it busts his hand, I think, and he writes in agony, and next minute it causes the Hulk out.
It's Hulk out.
Your favourite bit, Sue? Come on, tell us about the Hulk out. It's quite a good one, yeah. He sort of breaks his bones in his hand, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you see his hand, and then you see his hand turn green, and then you see his eyes, and then you see the Hulk, and then you're like, Lou Ferrigno's in there, and he's out of his clothes, and you see his shoe split, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's how he ended up barefoot, and he's pushing the rocks out of the way of the girls. I mean,
yeah.
he's actually like, helping the girls, and then they get really scared by his appearance.
Yes. Yeah. But he manages to get into some sort of safety, and
yeah. And does he hide and then go back to David?
I think the bombs, the detonation kind of ceased, so they found their way back out, kind of thing. I think the girls, because the Hulk ran off and left them kind of there. You always know, you always run away, kind of thing. At the end, so they must have found their way out of there somehow after the rockfall stopped. And the next thing we see is the Hulk, walking along, coming down from his Hulk out, and he sits down on a rock or something. And this little dog befriends him, comes around the corner.
And licks his hand.
And licks the blood on his hand, yeah. Like dogs do that. Yeah. And immediately forms a little bond with him very quick, And the Hulk smiles at him, gives him a little smile. And then slowly changes back to Banner, and the dog's still there, with his paws up on his lap and stuff, licking his wound. Then the girls arrive around the corner, so they don't see it all happen, they don't see it change as usual. That's kept secret. And so they make their way on a bit more. And this is the bit where you can take over, Alex. It's the bit where the old boy Phil comes into play.
Oh my! Well, he's not one of mine. Yeah, that's the other interesting thing about this story, is that they do have sort of a few tropes here about the angry authority figure and the jailbreak and the prospector. Unfortunately, the prospector and the warden or whatever do seem very cartoonish, even for this show.
Yes, they are a bit.
Phil Giles, and I don't know who and who was the other one? What was her name? Catcher, Richter, whatever the character's name.
Hackett.
Yeah, those were the two. Those were the two that seemed a little too into their roles, or they're quite a bit chewing the scenery. Yeah, so it was. It is a good series, and I like the cast, but the acting was a little weird, especially with those two.
Yeah, some of it was a bit. There was a bit over the top.
As you mentioned, Frank, the guy thought he was going to have a party, and that's not what the women are really thinking about. And kind of helps these sheriffs and all that betray the girls, and he thinks that David is going to, lead this whole, group or whatever, which isn't true. But then we get to the woman. What was her name? The young woman, Lani, finally delivering. I think it was.
Yes, that's right, Lani. Yeah.
And of course, with this being the 70s, they're not really going to show the delivery. They're not really going to get too into the nuts and bolts of that. Even though I did find it strange that David and the writing didn't say infant or baby or newborn or any of that stuff. They just kind of said, the kid or the child or something like that.
Yeah.
So the first infant is delivered with no problem. The second infant, I guess, is breech feet first, not head first.
Yes, that's right.
So it's
because that happens when that happens in the in between the bit where Barbara, the kind of the feisty girl of the bunch, the more strong, headstrong girl of the bunch, decides to leave. And so interesting bit where she's heading off away from the cabin, that this guy's cabin.
Yeah, and she's like, I can't wait. I can't go through this. I can't, wait to be captured. I'm out of here, and I'm gonna walk over to the hour, car ride to her, waiting car over there.
Yeah.
And her name, the woman who played her was Suzanne Charney, and she played Barbara to the hilt. I mean, it was great what she did.
Yeah, she was quite funny in places as well, I must admit. So anyway, she goes off, but actually, as she's getting so far, down the trail, she sees these vehicles below her going along, heading for the cabin, and lo and behold, in the vehicle is Phil with the two prison wardens, with Hackett and
he betrayed him.
So yeah, exactly. So she thinks, I better go back. I've got to go back. So she's heading back to the cabin, trying to get to get there before they do. And now
was Hackett in the vehicle with them?
Yeah, her and Gloria Gifford, the black actress, the other girl.
Oh yeah, the woman who played Grub.
Yeah, who incidentally I remember her from Halloween 2. That's where I first saw Gloria Gifford. She was like chief nurse there or something in Halloween 2 in the hospital. Mm-hmm. That's where I knew her from. Yeah. So yeah, she's pretty good in it. And she's much more. She's on the ball more. She has to rein Hackett in, because Hackett just wants to get that gun out and fire all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of like the conscience has to sort of say, "You hold on a minute. If you do that, you're going to go down."
Yeah.
You get done for murder or whatever. So anyway, they're heading back. So Barbara has to head back as well quickly and warn them. Well, she doesn't necessarily warn them as such. She just goes back. So you can't keep me away, kind of thing. This is when the second birth starts. So they're all there this time, and they all end up helping out.
And David, because he's a genius, and he's a medical guy. He's got some experience. He knows how to use the flour and get the linens and the water and stuff, and and then manipulate the uterus and the baby inside to be head down and for another successful natural birth.
Yeah,
which is brilliant. And he uses the ladies to do the hands-on stuff.
Yes, that's right. Get the flour and everything like that, and all that kind of thing, and turn out how to position it round the birth canal. Very good. And so they have to do all that under stress, under a bit of stress. But luckily, they managed to do it all successfully before the cops get there, before the prison squad get there. So that was lucky. Good timing. So the baby's successfully born before all the hell breaks loose outside. And So there they come. They come around the corner. Hack it, and all that. Yeah, she's got a rifle out straight away. Calm down, girl. Calm down. Too easy. All that. You can't go shooting around here and all that. I think she's got some kind of like gas bomb gun or something. I don't know what the bazooka thing or something, Alex. Yeah.
Tear gas.
Yeah, tear gas. Yeah, and she's quite willing to fire it in there.
Yeah, I mean that was the other thing that was a little too weird was that it's almost acting like it's it's a full blown PG rated prison movie when it's not, and it's a little too strong, a little too bull strong with this. I'm gonna fire, I'm gonna shoot when they're not even doing anything.
Yeah, it's not assault on precinct 13.
But they were escaped, right?
Yeah, no, I understand they have to be recaptured, but I mean, for goodness sake,
yeah,
the
might want them alive though,
Yeah, they ran over kittens or something. I don't know. She was very, very blood thirsty.
She is.
So anyway, the second baby is finally delivered, and and David's sort of happy but tired, and then he tries to leave, and
oh yes, and bear in mind his hand's still quite bad as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he does get captured, and he's trying to tell them, and whatever, the sheriff, the warden doesn't want to hear it, and the guards are really twisting his arm and all that, and he finally falls down, and he's withering, he's writhing in pain, and then he finally hulks out again.
Yay!
And that's kind of funny that they don't seem to remember it. They don't seem to be too scared about it. And he pushes the two prison officers down, which is kind of funny. And the shots don't seem to affect him. And then he grabs what's her name? Hatchet, whatever.
Hackett.
Hackett
and Grubb.
Grab the tear gas. The Hulk grabs the tear gas gun
and it goes off by mistake. I think.
And fires it at the same time. So that slows down almost everybody.
Yeah, incapacitates all the guards.
So I mean, and he also pushes the Phil Country guy's car away, and then you have this huge. Unfortunate, you have this huge musical, seconds of sort of wah wah. Not exactly, but sort of that sort of and Phil's looking at the car.
When he's popping out his head at the hell.
It's ruined or whatever. So that was a little bit off-putting as well. Sort of the too bad or whatever. This this sort of almost sad trombone sound.
It was almost there, yeah.
His car getting destroyed. But like I said, and then one of the women does come out, and of course, what's her name?
Hackett.
Wants to shoot right away, and thankfully the other woman, the black woman, says, calm down, calm down.
Takes the gun from.
They're coming out. Yeah, resolve the the story. I thought if David got away or whatever. I think he did, as he was the whole time. But I mean, they sort of have a happy ending. They tie it up a little too neat, but
they all end up back in prison.
But they're all back in prison, and the babies are visiting, and
they're gonna live there.
Yeah.
Unlike like what we've talked about in the past is that that these women's prisons, like, children are allowed to be there. Babies in arms are part of growing up in a prison, and when they're about 4 or 5, then the state takes over. But for the first couple of years, especially during nursing time and before they're so anyway, that's what.
Well, I mean, this is almost 40. Almost 40 years old.
True.
I don't exactly know. Plus, like I said, whatever we think, it could have changed or not changed. and they weren't too specific on, unless I'm mistaken, they weren't too busy on saying what type of prison it was or
Yeah.
what type of security or whatever. I don't know if they keep babies in there. I think they might do for the first 6 months that I recall, but I don't know what the actual rules are, and it varies from state to state as well.
Yeah.
As to whether the babies are there or whatever. It's not exactly a great environment for kids necessarily.
No, definitely not. And
No, definitely. Right. Yeah.
and then David, having come down from his Hulkness, he's found other clothes again, and he gets picked up by hitchhiking by a truck driver.
Yeah.
And he walks off into he walks off into the distance, but then he gets picked up by a truck driver.
That's right.
And the truck driver drives out of frame. So yay!
So yeah, a little happiness there at the end. Yeah, he got a lift.
And then there was that music. What did you call it, Frank? The Lonely Man?
The Lonely Man theme, yeah. By Joe Harnell, who's the guy that created that. It's gone on to be as famous as the line, "Don't make me angry." Yeah. They're the two most famous things, really. That's people don't, whenever you talk about that, they always remember those things, you know. And I want to thank you both for taking part today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the Hulk with you both.
Yeah, thank you for having us again.
You're welcome.
We look forward to reviewing more Hulk, because the Incredible Hulk is really an amazing show, and I'm enjoying these podcasts.
And thank you all for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back with another Incredible Hulk podcast very soon. Until then, thanks very much and take care.